your girl, Typical Tenille, coming to talk to you about something super important today. We are going to be just having my top tips for navigating peak week. So as some of you may know, I did my first bodybuilding show earlier this year, and oh my God, very, very trying, very, very hard, but also very, very fun experience. And one thing that I did a lot of research on was like how to prepare for peak week and what to expect. And I still felt like even though I, talked to people and tried to prepare myself, peak week was definitely the hardest part of the entire process. And it was super rewarding once I went on stage and got to be around all these other really awesome women warriors who had gone through, if not just as intense or even more intense process as I had, but that last week was trying. And so this week, actually, I am traveling to San Antonio on Friday to do makeup for a good friend of mine who's also competing in her first show. And as she was starting to prepare for the week, I was just like, remember this and remember that, and just trying to give her encouragement because peak week is no joke. So here are my top tips for how to navigate peak week, especially if you're a first-time competitor. So, the first thing that I will say about peak week that I think it's obvious, but it's not at the same time, is try to reduce as much stress as possible. If you've already been on prep, then you already know that your entire life is kind of stressful while you're on prep because everything is so tied to a schedule. And during peak week, it's the same thing. It's just intensified because you're probably not getting a whole lot of all the other things that you need in order to find success. But on top of that, the pressure of the fact that your show is right there at, in a couple of days, everything you've been working towards is bubbling up to that one moment. So try to remain stress-free, whether that's co-workers, even if you need to I took days off of work leading up to my show because I wanted to have just complete clarity and complete solitude. I did not want to be stressed. And that stress, it can help make you, for some folks, everybody's body reacts differently, so it can make you hold water or just start overthinking or just doubting yourself. And you just have to remember that you've done all the work, you're at the final home stretch, it's all gonna come together, and just reduce as much stress as possible, whether that's adding some yoga into your routines that you're doing, going on some extra walks to get in that extra cardio. If you're someone who prays, really sending those prayers out into the universe, really just staying aligned and ready to be totally prepared and present for your moment on stage, because all the months upon months of work that you've done is gonna come down to about 90 seconds to 2 minutes on stage, and you wanna be able to enjoy all 90 seconds of it. So don't let yourself get stressed out, especially if you're someone who does get stressed very easily. Really be very intentional about setting things up in your day where you're getting the space to do the things that you still enjoy, whether that's reading, whatever, and you're still getting a chance to relax and breathe, meditate, and get clarity of thought, because you are at that final stretch and it's all this moment that you've worked up to, and you deserve to enjoy it. So don't allow doubt or fear or anything to creep in, because there's so many moving parts as you're coming to the final stretch of the show, the final stretch of the show, that getting stressed out it's almost inevitable. But you want to be mentally prepared to get in front of that. In addition to, reducing stress, however you may do that, whether that's taking a nice bubble bath, going on a nice walk, you're not going to be able to eat or drink or any of those other vices that you might lean on in the past to conquer stress. So you're going to have to be more intuitive and more in tune with your body of how you're going to release that stress. But one thing that can cause stress is lack of sleep. And essentially, when you are going into peak week, the whole goal is for you to be at the top of your physical physique. Your body is peaking, okay, before you have to come back down and rebound a little bit. And bring your body back to a normal place, a healthy place, of how you look and how much muscularity and granularity and vascularity and everything that you have. So the whole goal during peak week is to hit an extreme. And so one thing that you want to do to counterbalance that, because you're asking a lot of your body, is it's imperative throughout the entire process that you're getting enough sleep, but during peak week, it is crucial that you get the recommended amount of sleep and more if you can. Your body needs to be rested so it can recover. You can be full, your muscle bellies can be happy, your whole overall body will thank you. And a lot of people will stress out during peak week. You know, the pressure and the stress of the show coming and things of that nature will lead them to not get enough sleep. Their body won't look the best that it will, and they'll end up peaking late or early. So a lot of the bodybuilding shows and competitions, it's just all around timing and learning your body and learning what serves your body. And a lot of people overlook simple things like getting enough sleep. So make sure during peak week that you have your schedule set up to where, like I mentioned earlier, you're not working a whole bunch of hours, you're not exhausting yourself and stretching yourself super thin. You are laser focused on what you're trying to accomplish, and you recognize that a part of that is making sure that your body is able to recover adequately by getting the amount of sleep, the necessary amount of sleep that you need. Another thing to be aware of and just be mindful of, and this could be totally subjective, like other people could not have experienced this. This is something that I experienced during my peak week. I had cravings the entire time that I was on prep, like the entire time. But the week of my peak week, when things really started to go down and the diet was just so completely dialed in, I was going crazy. I wanted to eat everything. I was watching people eat cupcakes. I was smelling other people's food. Food porn was just, I have so many saved images of food in my phone, websites, companies that I've subscribed to, just based off the food porn that they post, because I felt like my cravings were at an all-time high during peak week. I just kept on fantasizing about all the things I would eat and how I would eat them and in what order. It was insane. It was crazy. So, and it's really, really hard because during peak week, you cannot slip up. You can't slip up. You can't even, the thought, even if you start thinking about chocolate, you start to stress out because you're like, I'm not just thinking about this. So it's very stressful in that way. And I feel like the cravings got extremely intense, especially as the water starts to slow down towards the end of the week and just everything. And you're just, it's your 20-something week in a row of doing boneless, skinless chicken and them green vegetables and that little tiny spit of rice, and you're just I'm off it. I'm ready to eat, and you're right at the cusp of it, but it's just not there yet. So the cravings during peak week for me were the roof. It was extremely difficult, especially because earlier in my prep, I might be able to get away with okay, if you're having a craving, my coach might say, you can have a Quest bar or my coach would never say that. But I've met plenty of people who were allowed to eat Quest bars or drink Crystal Light, different things like that. But during your peak week, you're not getting any artificial sugar, sweeteners, no sugar at all. Let's be honest, no nothing, okay? It's a lot of boneless, skinless chicken. It's a lot of plain, unsalted fish. It's just a lot of the same taste. And, everyone around you is not on peak week. They are eating their regularly scheduled programmed goodies. So that can be very overwhelming and very frustrating, and it can put you in a bad mood and make you grumpy, which is my next warning for peak week. So the next thing about peak week that I wanted to call out is the way it can affect your mood. And it's not because your body knows you're on peak week. It's just the effects of you being without sugar and your diet being so strict and you being so leaned out. And then just all the other factors and things that are going on from whatever's going on in your relationships and your friendships and your work life and all of that compounded on top of being on competition prep, it can be very extreme. I mean, very intense. I didn't mean to say extreme, but it can be very intense and it can be a lot to juggle. And so for me personally, I remember I had gotten into I had irritated the hell out of 3 separate people in my life. People that I never have altercations with, people that we never really disagree in that way. And I had gotten into like full blown like arguments with these folks. And after the 3rd time, because it didn't dawn on me the 1st or the 2nd time, but after the 3rd time, I was like, oh God, the common denominator in all of these little situations is me. I'm the common denominator, and I have a super short fuse right now. And I just, you feel like your patience is super thin, your energy level is shot. You know, your energy level is completely shot. So getting through cardio sucks, getting through your workouts is a challenge, because you're just tired. Your body's tired. You're demanding a lot out of your body and asking it to still show up and perform and look amazing. And it's just a lot. That's the essence of you peaking and hitting that extreme. But let me tell you, once they pulled those artificial sweeteners, like I couldn't have any Crystal Light or anything like that. And then we pulled all the salt, because I don't actually even cook with salt, but I have seasonings that may have salt in them, but we pulled everything. You are eating like a cave person, depending on how your coach preps you. But regardless, peak week is just trying, because you are just you're super lean, and you're just tiny. Like you're just, it is a process. And I just did not have the patience for anything or anyone. And it was something that I had to, after the 3rd time, I was like, okay, I'm being problematic. I have a short fuse, and I have to also, again, remind myself that the people around me are not on peak week. They're just living their regular scheduled lives. And I need to be sensitive to that. And I need to be aware enough to get in front of it. And so from then on, after the 3rd time, I didn't upset anybody else. But it just shows you how much food and activity and so on and so forth can really just affect your overall mood. And you want to make sure that you don't let that bleed into your work life, your personal life, your relationships, your spouse. Because at the end of the day, I would hope these people are supporting you and uplifting you through this process. The last thing they want is someone who hasn't had carbs to snap at them because they're not on prep. Some of the things, if you are going to do a show, things to be aware of going into your peak week, make sure that you're reducing stress, and getting enough sleep, taking the time to do the things and that self-care piece to make sure that your body is ready to get on stage and show off all the hard work that you've done. Plan, especially if you're traveling. Plan and pack early and in advance. Make sure you have backups upon backups upon backups of everything. And that if there are folks that are meeting you there, so on and so forth, you coordinate with them and connect them with the right people. So the day of the show, you're not running around trying to make sure that everyone else is good. You can just focus on delivering you, yourself, your product, and what you've brought to the table. I think those are the main things that I mentioned in terms of things that, just would be mindful to keep top of mind as you're going into your peak week. Oh yes, and the cravings, baby, they're on 10. And I feel like part of it's because your body just knows that you're about to be able to have something that you haven't had in a really long time. I feel like it just intensifies the cravings. But it's really exciting once you complete the show, and you're gonna be probably someone who's in one of 2 camps. If you make it through your whole prep process and all through peak week and you make it on stage, either you're gonna be like, this was cute, thanks, not again, or you're gonna be hooked and be like me and prepping a 2nd show for next year. So best of luck for all of those people who are out there experiencing peak week. I hope that this helps. Just know that you're not alone, and there's a support system of people out here who've been through the exact same thing, and you are gonna fucking kill it. But I am going to be signing off now. If you don't follow me on IG, my IG is @typicaltenille. The whole premise behind my name is because I'm just an average girl just trying to do big things. So let's do it together. And if you're on Pinterest, Typical Tenille as well as Typical Tenille on Facebook. But my website is www.tenillejones.com, where you can find workouts, links to more content, information on me, and much more. So I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.